There we go. It is Micah.
So it's Micah. So I'll shut up. No, it's cool. But, like, the idea of Micah Parsons still very much so intriguing, dog.
Yes. So Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State, was an opt-out in the 2020 season, and a guy whose stock, dropped some. There were some people that thought he might have been a top 10 player at certain times for them. Physically, he is by far the class of this year's linebacker group, especially for the box guys there. You see the run and chase abilities. He was a pro day freak like a lot of the Penn State defenders.
And beyond that, like, he's solid in coverage as well for being a 250-pound guy, right? Like, he can flip the hips and kind of run with guys down the seams, essentially. You're not going to ask him to cover sideline to sideline the way you would Woo, but, like, he's a guy that can still cover a little bit of ground, is fluid enough in the pass game to kind of cover up a little gap here and there.
It's what do you guys think?
Look, Parsons, I'll be honest, a little bummed right now. Kind of hoping. I read all those mocks that had him falling all the way down to my beloved Raiders. I had just an inkling of hope that level of athleticism would get there. I think he's absolutely spectacular. There were some questions about character that had to do with some hazing incidents early in his time, obviously at Penn State and some high school stuff. But realistically, if you just look at who he is, and I think he addressed that pretty well. I mean, you look at who he is as a player field. This is an example that not everybody views opt-outs the same ways, too. Like some people thought that opt-outs would be punished, and we're seeing that doesn't seem to be the case across the board.
Yeah, the elite talent has not been impacted thus far, right? Penei Sewell, Jamar Chase, but you're absolutely right. We're going to, I think that's an interesting day 2 and day 3 storyline to see how much guys that didn't play this past year who are more on the fringes are impacted. But that's a good pick for Dallas and good football business. Let's do the football business side quickly. The Cowboys move back from 10 to 12 and get a third-round pick. So for moving back 2 slots, they add pick 84, and they take the player that if they couldn't find a trade partner, they probably would have taken at pick 10. Now you factor in the fit. Sean Lee, as we just talked about, retired. Leighton Vander Esch, a guy who's dealt with some very serious neck issues in his early NFL career. The Cowboys have until May 3rd to decide whether or not to pick up his 5th-year option. What Micah Parsons does well is pretty much everything. Runs incredibly fast. He can cover tight ends in the seam. He can run horizontally to take care of running backs in the passing game as well. Maturity, as you mentioned, something that teams have had to vet. But the guy is an athletic freak. He's got this contagious, infectious personality. You spend some time around him, you get it in a hurry. This guy has all kinds of energy, Matthew, and this Cowboys defense was not bad. It was not terrible. It was whatever is bad times terrible. That's how bad it was last year.
They were absolutely brutal. They were atrocious. And by the way, in one of their big issues, obviously, run defense, right? They allowed 4.98 yards per carry. That was 3rd most in the NFL. They allowed over 2,500 rushing yards. And one of the reasons why that offense was, at least when Dak Prescott was under center, was so dynamic is they had to keep throwing because Dallas couldn't stop anyone. And so there's no concerns about the offensive side of the ball. They need to fix that defense, which has been an issue in Dallas for a number of years. And, we were talking a couple of picks ago. Like, Dallas has to go defense. Maybe they go Parsons. They end up going Parsons. Again, as a Washington fan, I hate the pick. But as an objective observer of the NFL, it's a great pick and a perfect fit for Dallas.
You see it on the screen. The Eagles get the first and third round pick. The Cowboys, I should say, get the Eagles' first and third round pick. The Eagles then get that pick to move up. They use that to Devonta Smith. And when you start thinking about Devonta Smith being there for the Eagles, you start thinking about Parsons being there for the Cowboys. I think we're going to see a lot of this over the course of the rest of the first round of the draft, too, guys, because this is such an individual draft on how you approach some of these players. If you're able to move up a couple of spots to get the guy you want or move down a couple of spots to get the guy you want, spare the Justin Fields trade. I think we're going to see a lot of little moves that we don't usually see.
One last thought that I'll share right now, and because we're getting close to it, is in speaking to people just around the NFL, and again, one thing that's difficult about calling anything consensus is that you're not speaking to everybody, right? But in canvassing people who I trust their opinions and watching the players myself, it felt like there was kind of a core group of 14 elite prospects in this class. 5 quarterbacks, don't need to name those. 3 wide receivers, all off the board right now. Kyle Pitts, that makes us 9. 2 offensive linemen in Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater, who has not yet heard his name. That's 11. Micah Parsons, then 2 cornerbacks, J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain. So we're 11 picks in so far. 12 picks in, excuse me. 12 of those 14 are off the board. And Ashley, I think, has something going on.
I am so excited to welcome in the one and only Stephen A. Smith to our NFL Draft live stream. Stephen A. Smith joining us. Do we have you here, my friend? There he is.
I am here.
Stephen A.
I am here. How y'all doing?
We are wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you feeling right now in this NFL Draft?
I'm sick.
You're sick. Tell us why.
My stomach's hurting right now. I just saw the Dallas Cowboys get the best defensive player in the draft. and Micah Parsons. That's exactly who I did not want them to take. They were the second worst rushing defense in the National Football League. I was looking forward to people running all over them another season. I wanted them to do something stupid like grab another offensive player to compound the offensive players they already had. With Cooper, with Gallup, with CeeDee Lamb, with Ezekiel Elliott, with Dak back in the mix. I thought Jerry Jones was going to go for the sizzle. Then they made a trade with the Eagles. I was laughing. I thought that was something that wasn't going to work. And lo and behold, Micah Parsons was right there. That's exactly who I didn't want them to take. I'm very worried. I'm very worried that the Dallas Cowboys are going to return to relevancy. I'm really, really worried.
Listen, you know what? We've got a lot of time till we get to the season, Stephen A., so I wouldn't worry too much about that right now. Let's try and take your mind off of it. We had a big-time trade. The Chicago Bears move up and get Justin Fields falling. This feels like the biggest move of the night so far. What do you think, Stephen A.?
I like the move. I just don't trust Nagy. I don't trust him. I don't trust the Chicago Bears. I've never forgiven them for passing up on both Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes to pitch Mitchell Trubisky out of North Carolina. And I think that when you look at Justin Fields, I think he's sensational. I think he's got incredible talent. I'm just not sure how long Nagy and Pace are going to be there. Obviously, this pick is all about that. It had better work. Otherwise, they will be gone. And I think that Justin Fields got the talent to do it. I also like the fact that he played in the Big Ten, played at Ohio State, similar weather conditions and things of that nature. I don't think that it's going to be that big of an adjustment for him in terms of that. He's got tremendous talent. I think they made the right pick because I think in today's day and age, as fond as I am of Mac Jones, and as much as I hope that he lands with the Patriots and he's a national champion, he's big time. You have to be a dual threat as far as I'm concerned, for the most part, if you're playing the quarterback position in today's NFL. I think the Chicago Bears made the right pick. I just don't trust Nagy and Pace.
But even as you said, he may not be there as long as Justin will. We'll pivot to something that may make you feel a little bit better on the heels of the terrible news from the Cowboys. Devontae Smith headed to the Eagles, right? Like, that's got to be a semblance of joy for not only Jalen Hurts, but maybe yourself.
The 61.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right. I mean, I was surprised a little bit. I know everybody's talking about Jamar Chase was going to go ahead of him, but I think with the year that Devontae Smith had, I really, really thought that he would get picked before Chase. Having said all of that, the Eagles desperately needed him. I thought they did the right thing by grabbing him. Obviously, we'll see what happens. I mean, him going back and joining his teammate Jalen Hurts. I don't consider Jalen Hurts the greatest passer. I think he's a tremendous athlete with a great, great upside. But in terms of his ability to just fling that football with accuracy, that's yet to be determined. But obviously, if you've got receivers that can get open, that definitely could help your cause. So I think the Eagles made the right pick. I worry about his durability, Devontae Smith's durability, because of his size. But he's an electrifying talent, and I'm happy he ended up in Philadelphia. I think they made the right call.
He's doing it for the Slim Cats, Stephen A. Like, you can't hate on that. You know what I mean? Like, he's out here doing it for the Slim Cats out here and making money. Stephen A. Smith, we appreciate you joining us here on the program, legend. Enjoy the rest of the draft.